Hello readers and writers, my name is Sophie Elise and welcome to the first official episode of the Indie Authors Sharing Hub, a channel where I'll be showcasing books by independent authors in the hope that one of you lovely viewers will find your next favourite book. When I was younger, there was no greater pleasure than finding a hidden gem of a book unknown to my friends and getting lost in a brand new world, and I want to offer that chance to you. As many independent authors will tell you, writing and publishing a book is only half of the battle. The other half is marketing and telling people that your book is out there and ready to read, and a good read, which is so mad when you think about it, because we pour years of heart and effort into our books and then get all embarrassed when asked to talk about it. If you go onto a website like Etsy, you'll find people selling items that they made within a couple of hours for about £50, and why shouldn't they? They have a talent. But when it comes to authors, we charge very little for something that has taken us years of work and gives you hours of entertainment. So that's where the idea for this channel came from. Each week I will bring you between 3 to 5 books by independent authors and giving you all the information that you need so that you don't have to do the digging in the vast world of Amazon Kindle to find your next read. Before I give you this week's list, I just want to clarify that these are not book reviews. I won't have read all of the books I'll be promoting on this channel purely because I don't think it would be fair to you guys to limit the channel to my own personal preferences and deprive all of these wonderful authors of finding their readers. However, should I read any of the books and enjoy them, I will put a review on my blog. Let's get started. So with the first book, I'm going to start by being utterly shameless and completely narcissistic by promoting my own book, Discordia from the Ground Up. It's the first book I ever wrote, and it's the first of a trilogy that I'm still currently working on. The target audience is 18 plus due to its bad language and some very sensitive topics. You can buy it for £3.99 on Kindle or free if you've got Kindle Unlimited for a short while. You can also get the paperback for £7.99. I'll begin by reading the blurb on the back. One of the worst things in life is waking up and remembering that you've lost someone. When a dangerous chemical is released by an unknown source, it wipes out all life it can find. Somehow, the employees inside the Outside Life store in Gloucester, England have been spared, but they face the next 2 years in lockdown with only each other. They must deal with their grief, confusion, and the problems that arise from living in close quarters. As they all try to build a new life from scratch, a few of them want to know the truth behind what happened and how they were able to survive. The book starts. Chapter 1, The Demolition. At first there was stunned silence. For most of them, it was a complete shock, and a devastating one at that. Some were too young to realise the severity of what had happened, unaware or uncaring of the rumours. Others had heard the story, but dismissed it as scaremongering and speculation. However, a select few knew the truth. That, albeit unlikely, this was possible. Before, they were labelled as conspiracy theorists, pessimists, and drama queens. Now? Well, they certainly weren't going to be classed as heroes, nor were those certain few going to feel smug about being right all along. Whilst they were all locked inside the safe confines of the Outside Life store, the dangerous chemical filled the world, consuming any life it could reach. For those in the shop, and the handful of others who also happened to be in safe, impenetrable buildings at the time, the realization hit. The realization that where they were now would become their home for the next 2 years. The realization that the people who were with them were the only ones they could be sure were alive. The realization that most of their families would never have been in a place that would have kept them safe. No, even those who had believed didn't feel smug about this. The only emotions present were despair, anger, grief, and somewhere, hidden among all the dark feelings that hung over the survivors, a cloud of hope. So that's book number 1. On to book 2, The Saviors of Tremna by Mackenzie Friel. It's an alien science fiction adventure, and if you want to buy it on Kindle, it's $2.99 and the paperback is $8.99. The blurb goes, the task Rajax set before himself may cost him his life, but it was a sacrifice he was willing to make. The parasitic alien race, the Xeno, have plagued the people of Trem-NA for hundreds of years. Rajax, along with his fellow Narnans, have been forced to aid in the destruction of their home. Freeing himself from the Xeno's grasp, Rajax travels in search of aid for his people. He soon finds the road to freeing the Narnans is paved in blood and deceit. Join Rajax on his journey as he crashes on Earth to meet 3 unlikely heroes with trials of their own. As they work together, being pushed on both fronts, they find their cause just and their allies thin. So, for the first few lines of the book, Tremna, a once thriving and peaceful culture filled with history and wisdom. The Narnans lived in harmony, keeping the joys of the arts alive. Many were scholars, scientists, and historians. Artists and musicians worked side by side as the air carried sweet lullabies and brushes scraping across canvas. The Narnans' goal was to have their planet rich with life and homes alive with laughter. Fields white with Nafi flower, their spiked petals swaying in the breeze. Tan hides of Nar Romans grazed the fields, their tusks scraping the earth. Towns overflowed with trading markets and thriving cities filled with celebration and light. Sounds pretty compelling, Mackenzie. Thank you for your submission. The third book I'm promoting today is called Brand of Magic by K.M. Jackways. The target audience is described as adult females from the age of 30 years up, so right within my territory. It's a cozy urban fantasy set in contemporary New England, and you can find it on Amazon Kindle for $2.99. An empath witch should be able to keep everyone happy, right? Hazel has put magic and men out of her mind. A breakup meant her own thoughts were bad enough, without sensing everyone else's emotions too. The ghost in the attic and her sarcastic dog familiar would be way too much to explain to any partner. Instead, Hazel put all her energy into her job promoting the city she loves, Dunedin, New Zealand, and she is pretty good at it too. When her neighbour Joel needs her expertise to save his woodworking business and stop the sale of his family land, she can't resist getting involved. But the more time they spend together, the more stubbornly locked away his thoughts are. Then her powerful aunt is attacked, and Hazel has to find a way to get through to her and discover who or what is behind it. It seems as if her psychic powers are the key to everything. Can she bear to let magic and love back in? A contemporary witchy fiction story with a dash of romance. I'll also give you the first few lines of this book. Hazel Redfern simply had to get to the pool. It was the only way to get rid of the voices in her head. Not voices, she said to herself, wheeling her bike around the side of the house. Feelings, other people's feelings. She gripped the handlebars tight and pushed off. Her neighbour was leaning on his gate, looking amused. Joel was holding a shovel, and his red-checked sleeves were rolled up to his elbows. Next to him was a freshly dug sign. He had seen her looking, so she should probably be polite. "Are you setting up, Joel?" she called, putting her foot down. He wiped his face with the back of his hand and nodded. But hopefully no one wants her. Interesting. And that sounds like something right up my street. I do like a good magic story. The fourth book I'll be promoting today is called Trouble, and it's got 3 co-authors, Ashley Chegwyn, MJ Kelly, and Lisa Terry. It's a mystery novel for young adults, and the price is $2.99 on Amazon Kindle. So, the blurb covers 3 whole characters. Sydney. I basically told Mum to get lost, but I didn't think she'd actually do it. When Sydney's mother goes missing after an explosive argument, she struggles to cope with her clueless father, her secret relationship, and festering guilt. She's almost relieved when 2 of her mother's weirdo patients show up on her doorstep, demanding answers after the worst day of her life. But they've got secrets, maybe even deadly ones, of their own. Tori. Just because I'm pissed at my therapist when she goes missing doesn't make me responsible. Does it? After a brief moment in the spotlight, Tori is convinced she's a high school washout. She definitely ticks all the boxes: drugs, drama, and therapy. When her therapist disappears, Tori is overwhelmed with guilt. She starts an investigation of her own, enlisting the help of the only other 2 people who might know what happened, and what didn't. Anthony. FML. Anthony just wants to be left alone, but his past won't let him go. He knows what he's capable of. The trouble is, no one else seems to believe him when he tries to warn them. His therapist didn't, and look what happened to her. They only befriended each other to clear their names. Keep your friends close, but potential murderers closer, right? And here's the first few lines of this book. My throat makes a little squeak. Did anyone else hear that? I'm looking around to check, and that's when Babs Howell walks in front of the group. She faces me, the expression in her dark eyes a cross between pity and eagerness. I lock my knees so they'll stop their dumb ass shaking. It's not like I'm actually nervous. Who gives a shit what these people think? She looks to the old people scattered around tables and sitting in the chairs lined against the walls. With another nod back in my direction, she says, "Okay." I lift my chin. So that storyline actually sounds so compelling, so thank you very much for submitting that book. If you are compelled to buy any of the books that I have promoted today, there are links to each of those in the description below. If you're a writer and would like to submit your own book to the channel, there's also a link to contact me as well and submit your book to appear on this channel. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that one of you finds the book of your dreams. See you again soon, and happy reading!